Hey guys, Jeff Robmeyer here with athletic-mission.com, a website and facility for baseball players across the country and here locally in Oklahoma. We are approaching that time of the year where baseball practice is starting to kick off, high school players are getting to practice. So I want to talk a little bit about how to deal with coaches that are asking you to make adjustments and changes. Okay, so baseball season's right around the corner, and it's an exciting time, especially for the kids that decided that they wanted to put in some work in the off season, and they're really starting to kind of feel confident with the adjustment that they made. And here's what we see, and something we have to help kids manage is that guys will go into the off season, work extremely hard, and have this huge spike in their confidence, which leads them to going into the season with huge expectations that they may or may not be able to do or handle. So, and so what happens is if they don't get the immediate result, then they fall into the trap of wanting to make changes. And most of the time, these ideas will come from a coach who is asking you to make changes, which kind of creates some friction because if you don't believe in that adjustment, then it's just not going to work out well for you. So, how do we handle this situation? First thing first is understanding that your coach is right in the lineup. So he can create a nightmare for you. So you want to make sure that you are always being respectful with the feedback that they are sharing with you. You need to try to think if there is something about what your coach is saying that makes sense. Is he saying the same thing that your private instructor or your dad or whoever's been telling you, but just saying it a different way? You know, if that is, then that's good. If it's not, if it doesn't align with what you're trying to do, remember, at the end of the day, you got to perform in the game. You got to perform in crunch time. So in order for you to do that, you got to be comfortable with what you're doing. And you got to be comfortable and you got to believe in your skills. And so it may just come down to you just kind of nodding, shaking your head and acting like you understand, and then just keep doing what you're doing, especially if you really believe in what you're trying to accomplish. So this comes down to you just owning your development and owning and understanding what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. But you still got to be open to coach's suggestions. So I truly believe that every coach wants to help you more than they want to hurt you. The problem is because of the time constraint that coaches are working with, you know, ideally they would come to the player and ask anybody if they were working on anything specific and what their process is, if they even have one. But a lot of times that just doesn't happen. So again, try to be respectful. Try to process what they're saying. And don't be afraid to get into a dialogue and try to understand what your coaches are asking. Because, and most coaches should be open, but I know that's not always the case. But again, a dialogue just to make sure it's not a verbiage thing. Now, you also got to be having a dialogue with yourself to understand whether the adjustment and change they're suggesting it's going to fit with what you're trying to do and who you are as a player. So, when you are working on things, you have to think long term because mastering your craft is a long term thing. It's not a snap of the finger. Initially, you may pick some things up and have a little boost of confidence, but that wears off. So you need to own your own process. Also, understand coaches need to understand that there are going to be days where things are not going to work, things are not going to click. We're grinding our way through the day. So you need to determine whether you're having an off day or what you're doing isn't working. One of the things I want to kind of throw in there is that you and the coaches need to start with the player's approach first, timing second, and mechanics last. Let me give you an example of an approach first. If I'm looking, I just had this conversation with a kid just a couple hours ago. If I'm looking for a fastball inside and I swing at a fastball outside, what's going to happen? Your swing's going to fall apart. You're not going to hit it hard. So your swing broke down because you swung at the wrong pitch. Not because your mechanics are off. Now, another example. If you're looking for a fastball to pull, and you're going to be way out in front of the fastball or the curveball and the changeup. So coaches, we need to try and get an idea of what the player is trying to do, because it could be something they're doing something the exact opposite of what they're trying to do or what they think they're trying to do. The swing's going to fall apart if we don't do what we're trying to do. So the mechanical cues are going to help. It's not going to help them. It's going to hurt them. Because what's going to happen? It's going to direct their thought and their energy into the very mechanic cue that you yelled at them. Therefore, they're not focusing on the ball. So then that leads me to the next example of timing. If you cannot see the baseball, you cannot time that baseball. So if you get the kid thinking about his mechanics, and he's focusing his thought and his energy into that mechanical cue, then he's going to be clouding his vision. Then he will not see the ball. So, because all of his focus and his energy should be on the baseball, not that mechanical cue. So again, approach and then timing long before the mechanic talk. All right, so again, if the coach is asking you to make an adjustment or a change, be respectful. Make sure that it's close to what you are trying to do, but maybe they're using a different verbiage. And then if it's not, then stick to what you're doing, because at the end of the day, you need to have faith and you need to believe in what you're doing in order to have great results on the field. Anyway, I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions about how to talk to your coach, and we'll see you in the next video.